Oh, what is up? This is match of the week 1 for the Sunrise Draft League. I'm your commissioner, fellow coach, and host of the series, Bolivia, here to bring you the match of the week. Now, before we get into this already spoiled match between Drolo and Phoenix, let's first go over some of the other good matchups slash completed matches in the league. I'd first like to call the attention to a match that has not happened yet but could very well top this one, which is Helix versus Datboy. It's two teams in the top 5 squaring up, division rivals. I'm very excited to see what they have in store. There's been trash talk for the past 2 weeks. They keep rescheduling. It's happening today. It's going to be a good one. Next up was my battle versus Nest, two teams in the top 8 division rivals. It was a big win for me, especially since I didn't use Naganadel, which is like my big threat. Big Papa Naganadel did not come. I still pulled out with the win. That did not come out right. But it was a close match. Nest proving himself to be a competent battler. His team is utterly disgusting as well with Toxapex, Landorus, Therian. But it was not nearly as disgusting as Blissey and Tangela. So there was one other battle that I'd like to call attention to, and it was Dark Sam versus... Who did he play? He did not... I think he played Epic Pants. That sounds about right. Yeah, he played Epic. Yeah, maybe he played Piggy Man. Maybe he played one of those two. It was a good come from behind win. You had Scarf Hydreigon pick up like 4 kills. It's the kill leader currently. I'm gonna turn this music down. It is pretty damn loud. I'm not gonna mute it. Okay, that's better. But yeah, it's a pretty good week for battles. The other two I didn't mention were good too. We didn't have any bad battles this week. I'm sure everyone will have a chance to shine in match of the week, but I'd like to get into this one. You got Sun versus Hail. Drolo is in a very interesting position right now as a coach because, as you can see, Drolo has a Zapdos Galar on his team. After the power rankings, but before week 1 started, he dropped Hawlucha for Zapdos Galar. Now, I am not agreeing with that personally. I think that Hawlucha under terrain is a huge threat that can just clean games. Clean them games. It is base 360 speed at Timid, and you multiply that by 2 for the Unburden boost. There's not much in the game that can outspeed it. Maybe like a Scarf Dragapult. And it's also one of the greatest priority. It resists. So it resists Sucker Punch. Now this thing is also a fighting flying. It has proven itself to be good in the meta with Defiant, but we'll see how Zapdos Galar comes into play. Now, this matchup, you wouldn't think it would be the match of the week on paper. You have the 15th seed and the 10th seed. So 2 teams in the bottom half of the power rankings. But, as you're about to watch, both of these guys are great battlers. And I would rank both of their teams... Well, actually, maybe not Drolo because he dropped Hawlucha. But in terms of battling, I think I'd rank them higher than where they were placed. But yeah, you see... Got Mega Aggron, Zydog, no Infernape, no Mandibuzz, which is definitely interesting. But right away, what I see is Hail coming week 1. I see that Alolan Sand / Alolan Ninetales, Ice Alolan squad pairing up. Zydog seems like a pretty bad bring because, Tapu Bulu is like a pretty obvious bring for Drolo here. And it just obliterates Zydog because grassy terrain and Grass Fairy is really good versus Ground Dragon. Charizard seems to have a pretty dope matchup as well. if he can get rid of the Jolteon, then, I really don't see a way how this Charizard's being broken down. Unless it's whittled. One thing that's interesting from my perspective is I don't really see the hazard removal on Drolo's side of the field. Because Zard obviously isn't going to be running Defog for itself because it can only switch into rocks like once. And I don't know if Zapdos gets Defog. I don't think Defog is good on Zapdos. It probably does, it's Zapdos. Regular Zapdos is like the GOAT Defogger. Maybe Cress has like Magic Coat and that's its hazard deterrent, but we'll see. So I'm gonna put it on slow. We're gonna start and we're just gonna go through. So turn 1. Actually I'm not, I'm gonna leave it on normal. So you got Jolteon on Liepard. Jolteon is a great lead from Phoenix's standpoint. Everything on his team is like Jolteon outspeeds his whole team basically. His fastest is Heliolisk, which reaches 348. Jolteon is 394. As you're gonna see later, I don't know if it's entirely speed. I know he has split def on this. But Liepard also a pretty damn good lead from Drolo. I was really hoping we'd see the manual sunset from Liepard with the Heat Rock. For Heliolisk being solar power, but to be honest, I don't think Heliolisk. I think it's dry skin, to be honest, for the Milo, but we'll find out later. Also, nicknames on both. That's pretty dope. But Liepard, is very versatile with that Prankster and that Unburden. But he leads it, which makes me believe it's probably Prankster. But let's see what happens. Turn 1, it's Nasty Plot, Volt Switch, does 98. So that could have been a roll. I think Nasty Plot is abhorrently greedy here. Because he Volt Switches, obviously. He wants to keep the pressure up. But, if he T-Bolts there, you just lose Liepard turn 1. And, it's kind of a sticky situation for you to be in. There's no hidden power, so I think that Tapu Bulu is a pretty safe switch in. But yeah. Let's see what Phoenix goes into. He goes into his Aggron. That's pretty smart. This thing's obviously running some form of special bulk if it's his primary Liepard counter, especially when it's at +2. But as we're gonna see, he's Baton Pass. And he passes the baton to Fuego. And you'd think that he was a Nasty Plot Unburdened Sweeper, but he's actually passing it into Fuego. But let's see what Gajeel does. He puts up the Rock Polish. Now this is an extremely interesting scenario right now. Because Mega Aggron almost certainly has some form of rock attack to deal with Fuego. But Drolo doesn't just want to get, cucked into... Just basically, he would have... By switching into a counter like Cress or Bulu, Bulu's not a counter, sorry, Cress or Zapdos, you're kind of screwed because you basically wasted 98% HP on the Liepard. So you gotta hope that it's Stone Edge Miss or something. As you're gonna see, he's gonna Mega Evolve, put up the Sun, and he's not. He's Rock Tomb. But that Rock Tomb was pitiful damage. It only does 66 and it's quad weak. So, as we're going to see, he's Scorching Sands. Now, at +2, I think any fire move would have obliterated Mega Aggron. I don't know why you didn't go for it. And I don't even know what Scorching Sands was to catch. Because look, Scorching Sands isn't that good versus Milo. Especially if it's Marvel Scale, you can just burn it. But everything else doesn't resist the fire attack. So I think that was definitely a misplay. So he goes for the miss, he doesn't get it. So at this point, Phoenix is looking in a great position. He goes into the Liepard. He Dark Pulses for the KO. And now Jolteon comes back in. He's going to Volt to pick up the KO. And at this point, yeah, as I said, 5-4. He puts the hail up. You know, things are looking rough for Drolo right now. Hail goes up. Bulu comes in. This is interesting, bringing a grass type in on the obvious freeze dry, probably. Maybe blizzard, just raw blizzard. Whatever. This thing definitely, yeah, it definitely is an ice type attack. So it's a little interesting because Shandy had enough and left the game. It's a little interesting in my eyes as to bringing this in, but you know, Drolo has definitely cooked up a plan in his head, and we're about to see what it is. It lives the blizzard pretty comfortably in stone edges. Does not do nearly enough, and this thing's Aguav berry as well, which is interesting. In fact, that stone edge was like perfect for this because Aguav berry like pops, and now he's all the way back up at 57. So what does Drolo do with the Bulu here? Why? He stacks it, of course. So now it's like 5-3. You still have your hail. It doesn't look like he can do anything versus the Sand Slash. Heliolisk comes in. Discharge, as you can see, they're probably both 348 speed. He wins the speed tie here. He gets the discharge off. No para. Blizzard does 29. Leads you to believe... Oh, this is lefties. This is some sort of Spadef. This I did not the best damage to this thing as well. He volts in, but Benny comes in. Now, this is another big threat to Drolo's team. This thing is... Especially now that Bulu is out of the way, this thing is basically unchecked in terms of speed and in terms of damage. So we're about to see what Drolo concocts. Goes to Cresselia on the DD. 1,000 arrows does 35 to this thing. And he icy wins and KOs. That crit almost certainly did not matter. The Psydog is weak as dick. But, okay. So the Icy Wind just obliterates Benny. And at this point, you know, still looking pretty bad for Drolo. But maybe the Zapdos is some form of bulk upset in the back, and he manages to get rid of the ice set and like survives ice for long enough. And you know, it's still looking tough for Drolo. But maybe as Heliolisk is able to put in some work, he's got to get rid of the Jolteon and the Sand. And then I think he's in a good position. Especially now with this dead. So, okay. If he can get rid of Zeus and Haku, then I think he could win with Zapdos. So let's see what happens. Goes into Milo. Toxics the Cress, as Cress is Calm Mind. So, and this thing is Marvel Scale. Marvel Scale, pretty good. Pretty good versus Drolo at the moment, especially with his win con being a physical attacker. Surfs for 12. Drolo Calm Minds again. I don't think you Calm Mind again there. I think you gotta get damage on this thing. Especially if it's Marvel Scale, you have to whittle for Zapdos. I mean, yeah, Heliolisk kind of obliterates this thing too, but like, you know, I think it's really important. So you stored power with this. Now, with the burn, that's going to... Okay, this is going a bit too fast. It definitely wasn't doing enough damage to warrant, like, another Calm Mind. So he switches to reset Toxic. But here's the thing. This thing needs to stay low. So what I would have done was sacked Cress. Because at this point, Cress isn't really going to help you. Your play right here is to get it so that Haku is in range of whatever your strongest move to hit it is. And you'll see later that Discharge is fine. He has another move that could be good as well. And so he goes to Haku here on the Discharge. Horrible misplay. Horrible misplay by Phoenix, because you need to be able to put the hail up when this thing comes in, so that Sandslash can outspeed him like triple axle for the KO or whatever. So Heliolisk gets the KO. Cress is in at the moment. You have to go to your Sandslash here. You already know this thing is like extremely Fizz-Def. Triple Axel picks up the KO now. So Brent is in now. Now here's what this thing coming in tells me. It tells me that there's no way in heck that White Dwarf is living. I mean, I don't think it was either way, but like this thing has some way to deal with the Sand Slash. Or he just loses. But like Citrus Berry. Very interesting way for him to get out of range. He pops Citrus to live, and he thunderous kicks. But, as you're going to see, he's Sash. So what's going to happen here? Hail now has 1 turn left. Both of y'all are at 1%. He's going to Triple Axel. Ideally for Drolo. Ideally for Drolo, Triple Axel misses. Drolo picks up the KO with Thunderous Kick. And at this point, I think Jolteon still wins either way, but like, you know, can get lucky with a move critting that you'll see later. Triple Axel lives, hits obviously, but now he reveals Surf. Little confused why he surfed there. This thing is dying in whatever hit you attack. I feel like you could have gone for your own. Well, actually, no. Surf, I think, is the best play. Because his last move, I'll spoil it, is Focus Blast. Focus Blast needs to crit the Jolteon to have a chance. After a Surf. Okay, this thing is just going to die to a Discharge or 2. He Toxics. I feel like you just surf there, to be honest. Put it in range of whatever Jolteon wants to do. He scouts what his move to hit Jolteon is, and it's Focus Blast. At this point in the game, this thing can only hit it with Thunderbolt. So it's down to this. Heliolisk needs to crit this Focus Blast. 7% chance. But Drolo actually played pretty well from behind it because once Liepard and once Zard Y were down, the matchup seemed unwinnable. But a few misplays from Phoenix kind of, and like Drolo playing solid at this point, kind of like put him back in the running. So it's down to the 7% Focus Blast crit. Does he get it? The answer is no. He actually misses. The Jolteon lived from this range, the Focus Blast, but the 7% crit opportunity, I feel like, makes this by far one of the most interesting matches of the week because of like how, well, let's just finish up the game. Like, he just dies to Toxic. But like, these first few turns are like beyond confusing to me. He went for Scorching Sands here. He didn't go for the fire type move. Filter is not just stab moves, it's any super effective move. But you're in the sun with the Zard Y with whatever your fire type attack is. Weather Ball, Fire Blast, you're afraid of it missing. Like, this is why I use a calculator, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, but like, he managed to bring it back. Icy Wind on Crest was a good bring. I think if you stored powered until this died, it wouldn't have worked. You needed to have enough sand turns, or you needed to stall enough hail turns, so you needed Crest as a sack. I think if you stored powered like once or twice more, you could have been fine. But who knows? Great game. Phoenix prepped well. Drolo started playing well about halfway through. This is like really scary. The fact that T-Bolt was like his best thing and he's life orb, so he's putting himself in half health. You don't know what his last attack is. I mean, if he had some form of normal stab, like hyper voice, it's killing. But of course, he didn't actually. I think he had surf for the aid. Focus blast misses. Needed a crit. That's match of the week. We'll be back next week. Hope you enjoy. And congrats to Phoenix. And congrats to Drolo for both making match of the week. Peace.